Hi guys, Scotty here with another DBZ Dokkan Battle video for you. In this video, we're going to be looking at how you can beat Stage 2 of the Greatest Tours event, get all the missions done, get all the stones, and I'll have everything bookmarked below as well. We're going to cut this video up into a few ways. The first part of the video, I'm going to focus on getting 4 bosses killed as easily as possible. The most easy bosses I found to get 4 done. That should give you a majority of the stones, missions done, and then the kill 4 bosses missions done as well. Then we're going to do a second part where I'll quickly go through Ribrianne, because you do need to come back and get one of the bosses is not completable in this run. You'll have to choose between one or the other. So Ribrianne will be the second part of the video, and in the third part of the video I'll have how to kill Jiren, how to get through that boss. He is quite a monster, so I think a separate part of the video is fine. But I'll have all the info on the left. Sorry if it's a little bit cluttered, there's a lot of info to go through. And just a quick disclaimer with my substitutes down there, the first Tech Pan should be absolutely fine, no problem. Substitute Goku should also be fine. Vegeta starting to get a little bit more on the less defensive side, and then the final GT Kid Goku and the GT Vegeta there, I don't actually have a run with them, so I'm just something you can maybe try if you're desperate, but the first 3 should be fine, especially Tech Pan. Anyway, let's jump into the first fight here against the Pride Troopers. Okay, so the Pride Troopers should sort of be like a little bit of a freebie. We shouldn't have to use any items here. Should be okay. Not that they don't hit hard. They hit very hard, and they do an AoE. There's a lot of AoEs in this fight, or in this whole event, really. So do watch out for that. I will have that always listed there. If there's an AoE, how many times they super, that sort of thing. If I don't say how many times they super, they'll only super once per turn, or AoE once per turn. So yeah, we want to start using this stage to start getting our rotations down, so that we have them looking like I have up at the top there, rotation 1 and 2. Those rotations are not absolutely 1,000,000% set. Like if you think you are going to die because maybe the Super Saiyan 4s got sealed or something, and you don't want to run them, you don't want to put them up in front of a super something. I'm not saying you absolutely have to float them off if you have to, but for the most part, 80% of the time, those rotations should be fine to follow, and then you just float the rest off without an issue. We're starting off against 200 million health, so nothing crazy. A 4 million Ki Blast super, so that is pretty powerful, so do watch out for that. And we are hitting our first AoE, so that's going to be a 1.4 mil AoE, and both of those only fire once per turn, so just watch out for that. It is a Ki Blast super, so AGL Gogeta can nullify that if you do manage to take that super, but it's not set where it's going to be, so hopefully it does fire at him and you do get to counter with him. And that's what this team is going to do a lot of. We have a lot of counters, we have some dodging with Pan and AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, so it's a little bit of RNG here or there sprinkled, but we're going to try make it not so RNG with using items at the correct time and just being very focused on what the boss is doing and how we counter that. But Pride Troopers with this team shouldn't be a problem unless you really get caught out with a super, and that is just unfortunately very unlucky and nothing we can do about that. So yeah, Pride Troopers should be done, and we'll move on to our next boss. Just quick before we move on, one thing you might get frustrated with in this team is physical Pan. I had her rainbowed, so that's why I've run her. I've put a full dodge on her as well. She only gets her dodge chance, her extra 40% dodge chance and 40% damage reduction when she's attacking. So AoEs are her worst enemy, so you kind of need her to attack. So try to put her in front of the AoEs, and by that I mean if there's a AoE firing in slot 3 or that slot, sorry, 2, attacking slot 2, put her in slot 2, and then she can get that extra dodge and a damage reduction before the AoE fires. So if you really hate her though, you can substitute her with the Tech Pan that I showed in the beginning. She always has that 80% chance to dodge until after taking an attack. Okay, the next boss on our route is going to be Kale and Caulifla. So we have a little bit of a choice here with this event. You can go straight through to the end boss if you want to clear it, whatever, but we're trying to get the 4 bosses done. So Kale and Caulifla, they're going to have a 3.6 mil Ki Blast super, and they can fire that twice a turn. So we know it's a Ki Blast super, so again AGL Gogeta is going to be very nice for us to counter here as well. They're going to have 200 million health, and they can also dodge your super attacks, your normal attacks as well. They have a 5% chance, so it's very, very low. They're not too difficult, this part. It's just the 2 times supering that can catch you off guard. So yeah, just always remember with this Int Vegeta, especially if you have him as a lead or that, and you're putting him the reversible exchange one from the second part of the anniversary, you do want to make sure you give him as many rainbow orbs always as possible, so he's going to get a lot of his damage reduction from, and he should be fine with all these 3.6, these 4 or 5 mil supers. As long as you're giving him enough rainbow orbs, he should be fine. And then your other turn, this might be a good time to swap in like AGL SS4 Gogeta into slot 1 so that he can tank that big super and counter it, hopefully, as it's going to be a key blast super. So see what I say when you need to kind of have to shift around the rotations a little bit, just depending on what the boss can do and what your units can do to counter them. By now we all know that the Super Saiyan 4s, the physical Easy Aid ones, 7th year anniversary LRs, they need to super as many times as possible, so try to get them over their 18 key at least, to let them do their super so they can build up their defense massively, and then they'll be tanky enough coming around the next time. But what we might not know a little bit is the STR EZA, the GT Duo here, is they also have a bit of a build-up mechanic. They need to super in the turn to get damage reduction up to 50%. So you need to let them do that first before they take any big damage as a first slot or anything like that. They can get up to 50% from doing supers, and the more key that they have, the more super attacks they will do. So try to get them as much key as possible, all the way up to 24 key, and then they'll hopefully get all that damage reduction, and they should be looking a lot better and start doing some big damage for you. Okay, so we kind of want to kill within 2 to 3 turns. AGL Gogeta should be doing a lot of damage and helping out a lot here as well. And we're going to go on to Kefla now. Now this is the first boss where I'm going to say, I've got it on the left there so you can see, you can use an item. You can possibly use an Icarus if you are starting to feel a bit worried, and only really from the second or third turn, but we'll get there. So let's look. What does Kefla do? She does 3.6 mil Key Blast Super, and she'll do that twice per turn. So that's great again for our Gogeta. He's going to very likely counter those with his big chance to counter that. She also massively raises her attack on super, which means her second super can hit a lot harder, and her subsequent normals will be supercharged as well. So just watch out for that if you are watching things. She also gets an attack +6 with each attack received, and that has no limit. So every time you hit her, she's getting a 6% attack boost, and this can kind of run rampant and really mess you up later on. So we do need to be careful of that. And yeah, we are going to possibly use an item in the second or third turn. If you can get away with not using an item here, it is going to help so much later on. But if you are taking too much damage, or you just get very unlucky or whatever, and you really can't get past this Kefla, then there's nothing wrong with popping an Icarus in, say, her second turn if she's killing you there all the time. But we're going to try aim to kill her, to get the 2 turns of big damage done and kill her in the third turn, right before she's doing too much damage to us. And that's just going to take a bit of luck and setting up your rotations and everything like that. But don't feel bad if you need to use 1 Icarus. Don't use more than that. You're going to need the items later on for Catopesra and for Anilaza. So yeah, you can use 1. Don't feel terrible if you need to. And yeah, we just got to try and use our nullifications as much as possible. And yeah, so we actually take quite a bit of damage here from a super from Kefla. Just want to show you guys that as well, because I think she's already supered in this turn. Now she's going to super again, and our defense on our guys is just not, on our Super Saiyan 4s, unfortunately, it's just not enough. They haven't been able to transform yet, because I think we had been in the first turn, so they haven't had 4 turns from entry the battle. So we do take quite a bit of damage there. We can survive the normals though, at least, and we didn't die, and that's going to matter for the next turn now when we get to Gogeta. So what we can do here is, you've got a lot of actives here. The first thing we're going to do is use the AGL SS3 Goku here. So he is going to transform. He's going to give us that giant ape turn, and what that does is all of the boss supers that she's meant to do are going to fire off onto the immortal giant ape power instead of at our units who can die. And that is going to be nice, because when we come back around, when he transforms and we come back, those supers don't reset. Every single attack in the turn will now be a normal. They can't possibly be a super. So you're basically getting a free turn against the boss without using an item, which is very, very powerful. And yeah, you can see that Kefla is now, firing off like a 10 million super or something. If we look here, okay, not quite yet, but 8 million. but as we hit her, it's going up and up and up. But yeah, this is where Super Saiyan 3 Goku can be so useful, is you basically ghost ushering, because you are cancelling AoEs, you're cancelling supers, and you're getting a free turn of just normals, which your units should be absolutely fine to survive. And then you keep him in the float. He does 10% damage reduction support for the rest of the team, and he can just be so useful. So that's just a nice little piece of tech you can use there to maybe, instead of us having to pop a item here, we had him on rotation. Well, we had him come around in a float, and he was able to do this for us instead of us using the item. Now we also get the heal, and then we're just going to let AGL Gogeta pop his active, huge damage, have a very big damage turn, let everyone go off crazy because it's just normals, and we'll come around next turn with her. Okay, and now we are going to the final turn here against her. We're going to pop the active, which gives us Scouter with the, don't forget how important and helpful that is. We get Scouter with G4, and then we can now pop his active as well, do a whole bunch of damage, disable one of her actions, and then we're going to put G4 in the front here, which is then going to let us also change out to Goku, who is going to transform a bunch of orbs for us. Don't make the mistake I just did there. You want to use your, if you're going to have Goku in slot 2, you want slot 1 to get their key, then activate the active so that you get all those orbs given to Goku rather to your slot 1 unit. But in this case, we had so little health, we did so much damage with Goku there, and then we're going to let Gogeta finish off. And yeah, he should also counter, which should be fine, but with all his damage reductions, first turn, everything, he shouldn't die, should be fine, and he'll just be countering most of the time anyway, and finishing off Kefla. There we go. So that is the end of Kefla. Okay, now the last fight before we get to the final boss of the stage, so second to last fight here, we're going to go up against Catopesra. So Catopesra, in my opinion, is a much simpler fight than Ribrianne and her bunch. Yes, he hits incredibly hard. Let's go over it now quickly. He only has a 3.5 million super, but he gets that attack plus 300% on the first turn, so that turns into a 14 million super. Now what's great though is it is incredibly predictable. It's a 14 mil super only once per turn, but it is always in the third slot. So now if you haven't used an item, or even if you have, you need to now, we're going to pop an item so that we don't die with our characters. Now into Gogeta at the end there, he has 80% damage reduction on his first turn. So popping an Icarus space, he's functionally immortal, and he's got a chance to go ahead and actually counter that. So if you were trying to know item, he'd be a good option to put there, because you'd have a chance to counter his super anyway and live it. But just remember that Catopesra will always super in slot 3. It's a scripted thing. It's always going to be slot 3 super. So you just need to make sure whoever is in slot 3 is either dodging or nullifying or has 100% damage reduction to survive that 14 mil super. And that'll be fine. It makes it a little more predictable and easier. Now his tech key spheres are going to deal 150k damage to you each. So you really don't want to be picking up tech key spheres. And like I said, use your items here. I managed to get away with a single Icarus, but if you need to use 2 here, and hopefully you hadn't used one with Kefla, that's fine. We need, I would say, at least 2 items for the final fight, just to make sure we're going to be okay with all the AoEs and garbage going on there. So yeah, but that is pretty much it. He has 450 health, so we are beefing up a little bit more here. So we need to be doing as much damage as possible, and not that we're on a timer, we're just kind of trying to keep to our timing of items, because once that runs out, I mean, a 14 mil super is still a huge, not something that a lot of units are going to be able to handle too well. Okay, so just jumping to the next turn, being careful here, we know that the super's in the end, so we're going to put the Super Saiyan 4s in the third slot there. See, it's fine to float them off if you need to, because with their first turn damage reduction plus the Icarus, 100% damage, over 100% damage reduction they have currently, so it doesn't matter, they're completely immortal, they're not going to die to a super, and we just need to make sure we survive the normals. Looking at you, AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku, that 70% dodge doesn't always feel like it's 70%, but he should be final. That is a 4 million normal, so it is pretty juicy thing for him to survive. But he actually didn't sell this run at any point. He did it really, really well. Okay, so jumping ahead one more turn, we are going to kill here on turn 3, luckily enough so that we don't have to use another item. We're just going to use Gogeta's active to get the damage down, the boss's health down far enough, and then we're going to let Gogeta just tank it out the normals. He should be absolutely fine with this boss to front tank, knowing also that the super's not there, and that he'll just kill off Catopesra within 3 turns, so we've only had to use 1 item, which is great. Again, if you're not sitting as pretty in this situation and you really have to use another item, rather use it, and then we'll get by with 2 items in Anilaza. But if you only have 2 items left at this point, you're just going to have to try tough it out. I'm sure we'll be fine. Okay, lastly, we're going to fight Anilaza. He's going to be the final boss of this run of the event. So once he's done, we'll be finished here, and we should have a vast majority of the missions completed, especially the Get 4 done. So what does Anilaza do? He has 450 million HP. He does a 6.6 million Ki Blast super. Yay for Ki Blast, because we can stick Gogeta in first slot, and we know he's going to have a nice chance to counter, so that's great. But he does also have an AoE, and sorry, he fires that super off once per turn. His AoE he can fire off twice per turn, and it's quite vicious. It's a 2.2 million AoE, so units are going to struggle against that when they can't get their supers off first, and he can fire that twice. So we are going to immediately activate some items here. Now, I did go a little bit overboard there with the 2 items at once, with stacking an Icarus and a Wheeze. Probably just get away with the Wheeze here. I was just nervous about AGL. I was not worried Super Saiyan 3 Goku was going to sell and we're going to die right at the end. But you could probably get away with a single item here doing this, because the Int Gogeta is immortal with an Icarus. On his first turn, the Vegeta, we gave him enough orbs. With the Icarus, he's immortal as well. And then we would just rely on Super Saiyan 3 Goku to dodge. And we even dodged Anilaza there, so that was great. Other things that Anilaza will do is he will seal one of your units. So one of your units will unfortunately not get the super attack. You will 100% do this every single turn. Very annoying. It's random, nothing you can do about it. And the only other thing he has is that he reduces damage below 7 million to 0. So no unit will be able to do chip damage here. It's going to have to be big damage. Jumping to the next turn, it's much of the same. Unfortunately, our Super Saiyan 4s get sealed here, which is the worst possible one that could get sealed, because unfortunately they really need their supers so that they can actually stack. Otherwise, yeah, they're not going to get any defense whatsoever. But luckily we got Gogeta on first slot here. He's going to be able to counter, and with those items we popped, we are very, very strong. So we're just going to play this turn out and come back to turn 3. Okay, so turn 3, final phase here for Anilaza. We should be able to finish off with the extra damage we got from these units, and we pulled out Goku as well. We're going to put Physical Pan in slot 1, because she's going to have a 70% chance to dodge after attacking, and with the Wheeze that we've just activated as well, we should have 80% damage reduction. In all honesty, we probably could have just put Goku in slot 1 and let him kill, but would have been even better, but it's fine. We got it done this way, and Physical Pan. Oh, you know what? Actually, the reason I did do this is because I wanted to make sure she survived the AoE as well. So getting the extra, she needs to attack before she can get the extra damage reduction and the extra dodge. So I didn't want her sitting in third slot or something. Just remember to take that into account. I even just forgot it. Luckily, me in the recording remembered to do this. So yeah. Don't think she just has all of that off the bat. She needs to be currently attacking, and then after her attacks, she gets all of that, the 40% extra damage reduction and the chance to dodge. But we finish off quite handily with Goku here. He does a huge amount of damage, and we are fine with 3 turns to beat Anilaza. And that is how you get the 4 bosses mission done, and you get your first clear. Okay, lastly, before we get to the Jiren fight, obviously if you want to get all of the missions done, you'll have to come back and fight Ribrianne, who we didn't fight in the first part. So we're going to fight Ribrianne here quickly. You can skip all the other bosses, go straight to Ribrianne, and then you obviously do need to kill Anilaza again, just so that you can get the mission done. But yeah, you can go straight to Ribrianne and then go to Anilaza. Now, if you're struggling with the rotations being right, like maybe everything is completely stuffed and you don't have the right rotations you want before getting to her, you can always take a detour through Pride Troopers, who are not super strong, not terrible, and you can then sort out your rotations in that fight and then go to Ribrianne. That's also an idea, just in case. But how Ribrianne works is you're going to have 3 bosses. You're going to have Ribrianne herself. You're going to have, she disables evasion, she does a 4 mil super, she does a 1.3 mil AoE as well, and she gets a huge boost if either Rosie or Kakunsa die. So you do want to target her first. You've got to kill her first, otherwise she gets something like a 300% boost when they both die, and then she's just out of hand. So you want to kill her first, target her first. Definitely don't stress about using items in this now. You can use a Papa Wheeze, Papa and Icarus as well. Get yourself through this and then save yourself maybe like 2 items you saw from the previous Anilaza fight. 2 to 3 items for the final fight. Two items should be absolutely fine, and then you can beat Anilaza. So Kakunsa is going to stun slot 1 almost all the time. I think it's a 50-50 chance, so super, but generally your slot 1 unit is going to be stunned. So keep that in mind when it comes to things like putting the Super Saiyan 4s in slot 1. You might not want to do that because they'll get stunned and then they won't get to build up. So maybe let like the GT Duo go in slot 1, or someone who is going to dodge, because Ribrianne disables dodge, but Kakunsa super doesn't. So you can still dodge like Kakunsa and her stun. So someone who can stun might be useful. Someone who can dodge might be useful. So yeah, you want to kill her. She does a 3.6 mil super as well, so it's nothing small. And the most irritating part is she stuns. And then Rosie, she does a 3 mil super, and her thing is that she gets attack plus 50% per turn. So she will start building up, and that will get stronger and stronger. However, they both don't have that much health. So once you kill Ribrianne, by then you would have built up your other units. You will have Gogeta's active maybe as well that turn, and you can just kill them all on Gogeta's active turn, hopefully, if you've done enough damage. But yeah, just try be careful with who you are putting in slot 1 and getting stunned and that, because that's probably the biggest part about this, and the AoE as well. But with the damage reduction, support items, and AoEs, you should be fine. You should be able to survive. But that is pretty much Ribrianne and her whole thing. And yeah, just a little bit more of a more complicated fight than Catopesra. So yeah, but you do have to come back to get it done so that you can actually get the extra stones for it. Okay, again, to give ourselves a free turn here, we're going to activate AGL Super Saiyan 3 to get into Super Saiyan 4. He's going to go into his giant form, and then the AoEs are going to fire, the supers are going to fire, and we're going to come back to our turn with no supers, no AoEs, only normals, and then we can pretty much just burn down Ribrianne with Gogeta's active. That's the plan here. Okay, finally, onto the Jiren portion of the fight. You can skip past. Once you've done all the other missions, you can skip straight past all the bosses to Jiren. He is right at the top, to the left. You'll see right before Anilaza, you'll get to go left to go onto a cloud, a nimbus, and that'll take you to Jiren. I've got a slightly different team on the left here. We're going to bring Tech Pan instead, and you could bring Physical Pan. It's going to be more difficult, and I think you could bring Goku, but also that's going to start being a little bit difficult. So just some substitutes there, just in case. The reason we're bringing Tech Pan is because in slot 1 she gets 80% damage reduction, and giving her a single Icarus then makes her pretty much immortal before getting hit. So she is really nice for this fight. Just remember that she doesn't get that after making an attack. With a unit attack, it also cancels one action of Jiren's, which is very nice. Can eliminate some normals and some supers and that of his, so that's very good. Okay, on to Jiren. The first stage, we're going to probably end up using 2 items. We're going to use both Icaruses, because he's going to do a 6 mil super once per turn. He's going to do a 2 mil AoE once per turn. He disables all evasion characters. He gets ki -3 for all your characters. He gets an attack plus 22% per turn, up to 110%. And this is the most crucial part, most interesting part, is he is going to be giving you an attack and defense -11% with each turn passed. So if you feel like you're getting to turn 5, 6 and you're just hitting like wet tissue paper, that is why. He is removing your attack and defense, so you got to kill him as quickly as possible. So don't save your actives, don't save things for the last fight or anything. You need to kill AGL Jiren as fast as possible, so use your actives, all of that, before you just don't do any damage and he kills you anyway. So you need to kind of kill him within 4 turns, 5 turns max, I'd say. Otherwise, you just now at -55, -66, that sort of thing, and you're just not doing enough damage for it to even matter. So skipping to turn 2, this will be our next turn, and with the Icarus active, I mean, AGL Gogeta should be absolutely fine. He's going to have very high damage reduction there against Jiren. The physical Super Saiyan 4s will be immortal with 35% extra damage reduction, as well as first turn into Gogeta will also be immortal. So these guys can just do their thing. They're not going to get stunned or anything like that as well, which is great. They can just be left to do all the damage in the world that they need to do for turn 2 and start killing Jiren, but faster. Turn 3 here, we're going to activate the next Icarus, so we're going to have Tech Pan being immortal. We're going to give Vegeta all the orbs he needs, rainbow orbs, so that he is going to also pretty much be immortal with all the extra damage reduction he gets. And this is a little bit of a scary turn for Super Saiyan 3, because we are going to have to tank a AoE from Jiren, and we're going to have to take a normal from him as well. Now, turn 3 with an Icarus, he should be fine. Mine has, I think, 2 dupes in it as well, and he did take a bit of damage on the AoE, but we ended up being fine. So yeah, it is a little bit of damage. You could double up on the items. I wouldn't though, because you are going to want those 2 Wiis for the final phase, but the AoE doesn't hurt as bad with the damage reduction on deck there. Okay, turn 4 is pretty much where we need to kill. We can't go on another turn, hopefully not going on another turn, because we do not want to get more debuffs, and we don't want to have to use another item. We want to save the rest for full power Jiren. So here we're going to immediately activate Gogeta's active there. We're going to supercharge him, but we're going to activate the Super Saiyan 4s. We're going to, even regardless of how much they've stacked, it has been 2 turns, but if they haven't, we get Scouter now. We can see where that super's coming in. We can counter it. We're going to use his active as well. We need to kill this turn, so that's what we're going to do. And we kill handily on turn 4, and we can move on to full power Jiren. Okay, finally onto full power Jiren here. We should hopefully have 2 Wiis items available for use, and we should hopefully we have 1 active that we didn't get used, like the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. If we swap over to Goku, we hopefully have his active. Not a train smash if we don't, but it'd be good to have that. We're going to pop our Wiis immediately. We are going to, let's go through Jiren's kit quickly firstly. So he's going to do a 4.2 mil super, 2 per turn. These will generally be in, I think slot 2 is guaranteed, and then slot 1 and 3 are going to be variable, might be there, or we might get both in slot 2, but it's always going to be 1 in slot 2. He gets attack plus 11% per turn, up to 55%. He reduces damage below 11 million to 0, and the biggest thing is he performs a crit hit when attacking, and this 100% chance, as well as ignores 100% of defense. So your units will not be surviving off of defense. They can have a billion defense, not going to matter. He ignores defense, damage reduction, as well as like nullifying and countering supers, that sort of thing, guard, everything that, although I think crit does pierce guard as well, so it's pretty much damage reduction, and yeah, that is what we're going to be surviving off of. As well as dodge, because dodge is back in play. He will not be cancelling dodge, so Tech Pan can dodge now. AGL Super Saiyan 3, if he hasn't transformed already, he can dodge. All your dodging is back in play, so that can also help surviving just a bit as well. So we should be doing a huge amount of damage with Goku here, having swapped into a second form, popped his active, and collected all those int orbs. So he should be doing a nice amount of damage for us here against Jiren. And we'll move on to the next turn here. Again, we're going to pop the AGL Super Saiyan 3 transformation now. We saved that at least for this part of the fight, this phase of the fight. And that's going to give us the free, no supers, only normals. And then we can just do some nice damage. Okay, and with that, and with our Whis active, and with our Tech Pan in slot 1, note, don't do this. This was almost a disaster. Just remember, Tech Pan can tank hits up front, not hits in the back, basically. As terrible as that sounds. What I mean is that she can tank up front, so she can get hit in the first slot, but then once she's already supered or tacked at all, she no longer can take hits because she loses a big part of her damage reduction. We were so lucky that she cancelled one of the attacks and we took a huge amount of damage there, and then she dodged that Anilaza, so that would have been round over. So probably would have just been easier to put the other two units in the front. I was getting a bit sloppy by the end of all of this and been recording for a while. But yeah, that is pretty much how we got this done. I hope this helped. I know this video has been incredibly long. If it has been way too long, please let me know in the comments and I'll really try to cut down. This event is just incredibly difficult with so much stuff going on. I thought I'd just put it all into one video, and I really hope this helped and was useful. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.